All right, today we're going to be changing out our power steering fluid. My vehicle is a 2004 Nissan Pathfinder, but the same process applies to basically any vehicle. This only takes about 15 minutes if you have a helper, but a little bit longer if you're doing it by yourself. Things you're going to need are a jack, some jack stands, a couple bottles of power steering fluid, an oil pump. I also used an old irrigation line, which I'll explain later, a clear container to catch the old fluid, a rag, shop towels, gloves, depending on what hose clamps you have, either pliers or a screwdriver, and optionally an inline filter like this 3/8 Magnefine one. All right, the first thing you want to do is jack up your car so the front two tires are just off the ground so that you can spin the wheel and not have any resistance. You also want to put some jack stands under there just for safety after removing the jack. Then you're going to want to remove all of the power steering fluid that you can from the reservoir using your pump and the clear plastic container. This is definitely where it's a lot easier if you have a helper. One person pumping and the other person holding the line. That way you can take a look inside the container and see if all the fluid's being removed. You can also push the line down the reservoir tube if it's small enough. This actually helps get more of the fluid out, so speed up the process. So here you see the fluid's all gone. And by the way, last time I did this was about 2 years ago, and the fluid was like really black when I did it. So this actually wasn't too bad, but I just wanted to see how well this Magnefine filter worked over the last 2 years, which it works pretty good. So next you want to shove a shop towel down where your return line is so that to catch any fluid that might leak out. Then you want to remove the filter if you have one. If not, then you're just going to skip this step and remove the line directly from the return line of the reservoir. And then you're going to want to put a hose down that return line to capture the fluid. And this is where I use that irrigation line. It fits down perfectly. And then the other side, you're going to put into your clear container. And then you're going to fill up the reservoir again. And you also want to have your old return line up so that it's not leaking everywhere when you do this. So with someone turning the wheel, another person checking the reservoir and making sure that fluid's not spilling everywhere, you want to just continue doing this and filling it up until the fluid basically is clear again. So you got to do this a few times. This is why I recommend using a few bottles, because depending on how dirty your fluid was, you might need to repeat this process several times. So yeah, just have someone keep checking the reservoir and filling it up as needed, and another person behind the wheel with the ignition on but the engine off, turning the wheel back and forth to get that pump flowing all of the fluid out. And then once you see the fluid is basically clear or clear enough, then you're going to want to get all of the bubbles out. So you do the same thing, keep turning the wheel back and forth until it stops bubbling essentially. And this might take a few minutes, just depends, but you want to make sure you do this before you get back on the road because you don't want to have any air in the lines. So here you see there's no more bubbles. And then at the end here, you just want to reverse the process that you started. So remove the old Magnefine filter if you have one, put a new one on, clamp it down good so it doesn't leak. Or if you don't have one, return that line back to the return line on the reservoir, and you're all done. And you want to drive around a little bit after this and then check the reservoir to see if the fluid level is still good. If it's not, add a little bit more fluid as needed. But yeah, basically you're done after this. It only takes, like I said, 10-15 minutes. And I highly recommend that Magnefine filter if you want to prolong the fluid that you have. All right, hope you guys liked the video. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe, and share this if you want. Have a good one.